He's a beauty. Chris is one of my all-time favorites. I mean, he's big personality. I think that he's super. Just having that veteran presence is not just good for the pitching staff, but good for the whole clubhouse. I mean, he brings energy every day. He's a bulldog out there, and I think he's going to be a huge addition for us, especially not just in the regular season, but especially when we make that playoff stretch and that playoff run. I think having his experience and his just knowledge, just vast baseball knowledge from his experience is going to be huge. He's a great personality. He's a great human being. He's going to fit really well with this group of guys for sure.
Pete Alonso talking this morning about Chris Bassitt, who the Orioles signed last night to a one-year, $18.5 million deal. Bassitt and Alonso were teammates with the Mets in 2022, so he knows him a little bit. Chris Bassitt will turn 37 years old next week. Well, actually, 2 weeks, February 22nd. But he's a known innings eater, a steady pitcher. He threw some key high leverage innings in the playoffs this past season for the Blue Jays.
Look, they had to do something else. They hedged their bets publicly whether they would do something else. They told some people in the industry, we think we're done. We had one of them on our air. Mm-hmm. And then I think, look, I think this is just a weird week for me where he talks at he talked at the facility, but didn't really talk about baseball.
Like 3 days in a row,
then
right?
They did one where it's kind of like setting the stage for the season.
Yeah.
And then he does one about the hurt guy.
Yes.
I feel like there's been a lot of trial balloons going on. And I feel like there's been a lot of licking the fingers and holding it up and seeing which way the wind was blowing. And the reality was them trying to sell a payroll less than the one they ended last year with was blowing back in their face pretty hard. Or some pretty strong headwinds in that direction. And not even the whole team's assembled in Sarasota yet. And the options were running out. Verlander was gone, right? Nick Martinez is gone. Some other guys were rumored to go elsewhere. And I said all along, we even had this discussion, Verlander or Bassitt. Bassitt for me. I'm like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it with Bassitt. And I don't think we're going to get any better than Bassitt. So if you get Bassitt, you better like Bassitt. And I think Bassitt gives them obviously more depth. It gives them more insurance. It buttresses the low end. It will probably keep that ceiling from collapsing and your kitchen from ending up in your basement. Because prior to him being here, I really if we're really, and I told you, they're going to run the Brandon Young, Cole, Cade Povich thing out there. It didn't, not a lot of people were buying it. So look, this is what they do. It's guys on the wrong side of 35 making about 16 to 18 a year for 1 year. This is who they are. This is Eflin. This guy replaces last year's Eflin. And this year's Eflin, a year older, coming off significant injury, you get even cheaper. But to have the audacity to get down to Sarasota with Eflin at $10 million as your highest paid starter, I think you were really asking to be kicked in the teeth. And I think a lot of smart baseball people were kicking you in the teeth. And I think your fan base was kicking you in the teeth a little bit. So this, to me, was a baseline. Like, if they didn't do this, I think they really would have been waving their cynicism in your face. I think it really would have been let them eat cake, have fun with that Eflin, and just trust us on Shane Baz. But we chronicled how many guys are coming off of years, plural, worth of being compromised, who they were counting on to be one of their 4, if not 5, top starters to start the season, because I don't think Eflin's going to be ready to start the season. And it was crazy. Honestly, when we left here yesterday, what they were running out there as their current roster of starting pitching in a year where they said we're trying to contend was ridiculous. It was crazy. It's a little less crazy with Bassitt. It's not going to give him the high end. And look, a year ago, I'm old enough to remember Bassitt on a team that could win in the playoffs, not needing him to be a starter.
No, but he pitched some pretty key innings.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, he's the highest paid guy on this rotation by almost a ratio of 2-1. And he wasn't good enough for Toronto's postseason rotation a year ago, and this now is the premium ad because you can at least bank on him to this point of giving you 180-some innings and an ERA around 4, which is not all that different than Dean Kramer. But it's more experience. It's a different pitch mix. It's a different point in his career. And he has at least had postseason success.
Yes.
Which was completely missing from this rotation 12 hours ago.
Yeah, I think this is one of those situations where multiple things can be true. We all were, the fan base was very disappointed when Framber Valdez ended up going to Detroit. And the Orioles fans were left at the altar with no frontline starting pitcher that Mike Elias was talking about at the beginning of the offseason. So there's disappointment in that. But the other side of the coin is the Orioles are a better baseball team than they were 24 hours ago with Chris Bassitt. The starting rotation is better than it was 24 hours ago. And this is a floor raiser. This isn't the ceiling of an ace or a frontline starter by any means, but this absolutely raises the floor of this Orioles starting rotation. You look over the last 4 years, he's completed at least 170 innings in all of them. Like you said, Jason, his high of an ERA was a 4.16 in 24. He's been under 4 in the three of the other years there. He's pitched in the division the past 3 years.
Yep.
And does the age give me pause? Absolutely. But these are the waters that they swim in. When you bring up just last year, Charlie Morton, $15 million, Tomoyuki Sugano, $13 million, 2 older guys. And I think Bassett's going to be much better than both of those guys.
He damn sight better. Man.
Yeah, he absolutely will be. But this made the Orioles better.
Yeah, I'm sort of leaning towards you, Bone, because part of me is disappointed because
I think both can be true.
They said out loud,
both can be
our
true.
goal was to get a frontline starter, and then they didn't do that. But Jason, we talked a lot yesterday about what the industry thinks, and the industry does not think they're a playoff team right now. The industry thought a year ago at this time they were a playoff team, and this rotation, we'll talk about the rotation in depth next segment, is on paper, assuming health, is miles better than it was a year ago. So, yes. like both things, to speak bone parlance, both things can be true. Like I feel like they failed to meet the moment when they said out loud, we're going to get a frontline starter. But I think Chris Bassitt, he knock on wood, he doesn't get hurt. He posts. He seems to be, people love him in the clubhouse for whatever that's worth. I saw, I think it was AJ Przinsky said he's like having a coach who also pitches. Like, so.
You know what, though? I'm kind of over that.
Yeah.
How about you get people on their prime who just make your team better?
I hear you.
You can have unlimited coaches in baseball. They're already supposed to be so brilliant with their numbers and their analysts.
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of over that. Nobody wins championships with a bunch of guys who, we think he's good in the locker room. I mean, he sucks. He's getting lit up.
But he doesn't suck.
But he might suck.
Yeah.
He's also 36 years old.
I know.
And there's a reason it's a 1-year commitment.
Yeah.
So I'm over that.
Yeah.
Well, they've been doing that it's year 8. Stop pretending like you're this 100-loss sunk cost run by a guy who lives in Nashville who's got no money. Stop it. I don't want to hear about coaches anymore. Players play, pitchers pitch, coaches coach. They said they were getting a frontline starter. They didn't come close. They got another innings eater, which is fine.
Yeah.
Just don't tell me they learned any lessons. Just don't tell me they did any soul searching. Modern-day Chris Davis doesn't change a GD thing about how they built their team. It's the exact same S sandwich they've been serving you for 4 or 5 years now. It's couched a little different. There's one guy making real money now instead of nobody. But he can't run the bases. He can't generate runs without power. And he doesn't even play plus defense at a lesser defensive position. So nothing's changed at all about what they've done. They've gotten a little better playing the media. They're willing to set standards outward a little bit more. But they still don't meet their own outwardly spoken standards. And again, this guy wasn't good enough for a playoff rotation in your division last year. And that team went out and replaced him with Dylan Cease. I'm not the biggest Dylan Cease guy in the world. I don't like 6 years, but that's what you're up against.
Yeah. Yes, but he
and
was
by the way,
also
Barrios
hurt too,
disappeared on that team too, and still he didn't make the rotation.
Yeah, he was also hurt too, though. He had the lower back injury right before the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm saying
they signed a 37-year-old guy coming off a back injury after they signed another 30-whatever guy coming off a back injury.
I said both things
they
can
have
be
a
true.
type.
They didn't get the frontline guy, but they're a better ball club with Bassitt.
But I'll just say this. They've been doing this forever. When have they overshot the mark? When have they been more right than the industry? I'll maybe give them Gibson the first time, but they still haven't kept him too long. Like, when
brought him back.
When have they? Like, because you're asking. I'm telling you, they've been doing this same ish the whole time, and I don't think you can argue that. So then I'll say, if they've been doing this forever, and most of the time they've been a year late on these guys, am I to believe that they're right on this guy? They weren't right on Kimbrel. They weren't right on Sagano. They weren't right on Morton. They weren't right on Lyles. I mean, not really. They were definitely not right on Gibson just a year ago. But you're telling me this time they're right. And I'm saying, based off what?
I said that there's concern with him being 37 years old.
But just because he's done all this stuff before. Me
him.
too. But just because he's done it all before, that does not mean at age 37 he's going to do it now.
It can go at any time. But if you're looking at the metrics and you're looking at the fact that he was better in the second half of the year than the first half of the year.
I'm looking at a guy. How many innings on that arm?
Let's see. 1,278 and 2/3.
Okay.
Regular season.
He was better last year than he was the year before, for
Yes,
what
he
that's
was.
worth.